So at Category Management Knowledge Group, we provide category management training with a foundation of accredited e-learning, so online training, but with a real custom blended learning approach for each of our students. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail about our offerings at the end, and you can optionally choose to stay or to leave at the end if you are not interested in learning more about it. But to understand CMkg, first you need to get to know us. And by us, I'm Sue Nichols. I'm on the left-hand side of the picture there. I'm the president and founder of CMkg. Started this company 11 years ago as a category consulting company, and it's really converted into a just about a complete training company. We do consulting with some of our corporate clients. I spent over 15 years managing P&G's Canadian category management team and was in sales with them for 5 years, and also served on their global category management committee. Michelle Patterson is on the right. She's our director of training development and my partner in crime. She also started her career at P&G with 12 years in category management, sales, trade marketing, and 10 years as a corporate trainer. We have both retailer and supplier experience. We've traveled the globe doing our training. We have students from all over the world, even students with English as a second language, and we've really led the certification. We were the first certified category management training company in the world. So this is a list of our accredited courses, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about CMkg for now. And the reason I'm showing this is you can see that the one at the very top is Category Management Overview. So we have 29 accredited courses, and so this is literally giving you the full view of our Category Management Overview course. It is the first course in our series of 29 courses, so it is really a basic overview of what category management is from start to finish. We find that many people have very different definitions and ideas of what category management is, and so it really starts to help to provide a common foundation because so many people come from so many different backgrounds and experiences and roles and training that sometimes the definition of category management in itself is very different. So in today's webinar, we're going to be addressing these questions in this course. We're going to be going through what is category management, why is it an important process, what are the key steps in the category management process, and how does each step of the category management process work. And I know that all of the Americans that are listening to this right now are giggling at me talking about a process instead of a process, but I still call it a process because I am Canadian. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is run a polling question. On the screen right now, you can see 5 different pictures, and hopefully one of them captures your current thoughts on category management. Do you feel like it's number 1, the strong man, it's hard work? Or number 2, a constant roller coaster ride with a lot of ups and downs? Or is it number 3, does category management mean winning the game? And I do have to point out that I have the winning goal by Sidney Crosby in the Vancouver Olympics almost 4 years ago, that's hard to believe, where Canada beat the US. It was a very wonderful day in Canadian history. Or is it number 4? If you're new in your role or if you haven't had any training category management, you may be experiencing frustration or uncertainty in what you should be doing. Or finally, number 5, it's a lot of paperwork that at the end of the day just creates more work. So I'm going to bring up a polling question, and really what I would love for you to do is select the image that best depicts your current thoughts on category management. And you can click right on your screen. Do you see it as being the strong man, the roller coaster, winning the game, frustration, or it creates more paperwork? And while I'm waiting, this is actually a very large group of people who are participating in this session today, but while I'm waiting for everybody to input, we have a very diverse group of people on the line from all over the world, actually. So just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to input, and then you can get an understanding of the different perspectives that people have in category management. Okay, so I'm just going to give a couple more seconds here for you to input your response. And now I'm going to close the poll, and now I'll share the results. The screen seems to be a little slow right now. Okay, so the results from this are it's kind of almost a three-way split between the roller coaster, winning the game, and frustration. And so very many different perspectives just on even what they think about category management, and that can really be driven by how mature category management is within your organization, how much support that you get from senior management in your category management endeavors, how much data you have access to, even how much training you've had in category management. So thank you for sharing your results with me. The joys of the internet. Sometimes these things are take a little bit too long for my liking, but no one seems to care. Okay. So, standard definition of category management. If you look it up in pretty much anywhere, this is your standard definition. The retailer-supplier process of managing categories, a strategic category management business unit, enhance business results by focusing on delivering consumer value. If you break that down a little bit, which is kind of the way that our training, consider it to be that items are managed in a product category as a strategic business unit by the retailer, and each of these business units has its own skills and tactics, including product assortment, shelving, price, and promotion that feed into total store strategies and goals. And management is all about. And it's quite interesting, if you don't know category management, in the late 1980s, most retailers were doing all of their buying within their organization. Manufacturer are around that 45-plus age group, buying that more traditional buying approach. And what was happening is that retailers, like they weren't category managers, they were buyers of Procter & Gamble and Kimberly on the shelf, and I don't even know how they actually figured out how much product would even fit on the shelf because they were almost competing against each other. That was really what led to the initial stage of category management approach, was to become more strategic on what they were doing and how they were making all of their tactics of what happened on the shelf. So just a little bit of trivia for you. Some of the things that have happened or are currently happening in the industry that have really led to the need for category management, thinking at a fast pace, and retailers are requesting new channels and competitors are evolving, and channels are also new data sources and technology available, and consumer expectations and needs are also, and there's also are decreasing. Consumers are less loyal, and they also have a lot less time to shop. I know I do. Product differentiation has decreased, as has channel differentiation. And this is really up to category management approach. And when we're going to go through in today's session, category, when we go back and look at the definition I just gave you that retailers follow and so on, of strategy and concepts and analytics and data in category management that is completely relevant and important roles beyond category management. Even if you're not engaged in the retailer's process, there's a lot of things that CPG companies can be doing internally to do a lot of category management, including doing their own assortment analysis and their own internal benchmarks and understanding of how they're doing versus the rest of the market and versus their competition. Something else that's changing is the selling environment. Ship used to be the basis for many of our retailers' decisions, but selling plays a tremendous role. So suppliers who can add value to retailers and present compelling stories based on data can help to drive those total category results. So that pair of hockey tickets that we used to have to go in to see our buyers, they might still even allow it anymore, and it's not that relationship isn't important. Balance between relationship and fact-based selling, and even going so far as saying it's like an added value. So how can you add value to the retailer through some of the category management and fact-based approach? And both of these continue to be important. Relationship is obviously required, especially when you start talking about collaboration and joint business planning. There also have to be benefits for organizations organizations who take a category management approach, some of these benefits may include things like increased sales, increased margins, reduced inventory. The inventory piece continues to be one that's a huge focus for retailers. Increased strategic focus on the business and increased consumer satisfaction. And all of these benefits combined can really result in great business results for both retailers and suppliers. And in some of the more mature categories and for some of the companies who have been practicing category management for a long time, sometimes it's more about what the risk is or what the cost is if they didn't practice category management because they've been doing it for a long time, so they may not see all of those big benefits, but they have to do it because there's that risk on the other side of if they stopped doing it. There's also some basic requirements for moving to a category management approach. First of all, you require data in a consistent and ongoing fashion. I just recently wrote a blog about category management on limited data and all the great category management work you can do on a limited data environment as well, but you do need some data. Next, organizational alignment is required. You can make some difference at your desk, but really in order to adopt a full category management approach, full immersion in the process is required. It's really difficult if you're in CPG and you have a category management team, but senior management doesn't, what you're doing doesn't really fit into the bigger corporate picture of how the company works and the ebbs and flows. So really need to have that full immersion in the process right from senior management down to store level and merchandising teams. A collaborative mindset within your organization is another prerequisite. Thinking outside of the box, trying not to work so much in silos, but working together and teaching each other new ideas and practices. And lastly, some level of automation in your data is required, particularly when you're trying to scorecard results and assess categories. Unfortunately, many category management teams experience ending up doing a lot of tactical and administrative work versus actually doing a lot of analysis and kind of determining breakthrough insights for their categories because they end up having to do a lot of scorecarding and PowerPoint presentations and graphs and those kind of things. So automation as much as possible obviously increases the capacity. If an organization doesn't have all of these prerequisites in place, you have to realize that category management is evolutionary and you have to start somewhere, and you certainly aren't going to be able to just jump in and start doing high-level category management right away. But like I said before, we actually have a course on category management on limited data that's very popular because although many organizations have a lot of data, most organizations also have data gaps. So there are ways that you can do category management with all of that data. The last thing that you need to be successful in category management is really to be willing to change your perspective. And even probably more importantly is consider other perspectives. So when you look at this picture, I'm waiting for the picture to come up. Sorry, I'm talking ahead of the screen here. Do you see a young, well-to-do lady wearing a large hat and a fur coat? Or do you see an old woman with a large nose that's resting your chin and looking to the left? There's a 50% chance that you see one image, and the other half viewing this video or attending this webinar is seeing the other image. So it's the same picture, but completely different perspectives, and it's quite interesting because sometimes people really struggle to be able to see that other image. So that's just a completely different perspective, and that's just looking at a picture. Here's another picture that I absolutely love. This is one of my favorites. All of these people are inspecting this elephant. This reminds me of one of my old jobs that I used to have and how some of the departments work together. So they're all inspecting this elephant, and if you look closely, you'll note that they're all blindfolded. So based on where they're positioned when they're touching the elephant, they all have very different perspectives on what it is that they're feeling. And if they don't kind of collaborate and work together as a group to try to figure out what it is they're touching, they'll probably never figure it out. And all I know is that I wouldn't want to be the guy holding the rope at the end of the elephant, especially if he just had lunch. So not having the right perspective, especially from the customer's point of view, can result in incorrect conclusions and decisions and recommendations. And this image really depicts it all. I found this on the internet, and I'm not giving any credit for it because it didn't have any, but it's really how the customer explained it, how the project leader understood it, and how the analyst designed it. And how many of us have experienced that in our careers? Probably most of us, because we're not getting the perspective before we jump in and start doing the work. So, like I mentioned, taking that bigger picture perspective is critical in category management. For suppliers, considering the category first and then the brand perspective is better than solely focusing on brand. We've actually worked with a few clients who they come to us and say they want to learn category management and they want to start practicing category management, but they're actually talking that they want to, it ends up that they want to be doing brand management and not category management. But if the suppliers don't consider the retailer's perspective, they probably won't get very far selling in a self-serving business plan. So it's really in the best interest of the supplier to consider category and brand perspective jointly rather than just focusing on brand value alone. When retailers fail to take into consideration the supplier's category and market knowledge and expertise into their business plans, they're also less likely to be successful. And we see examples of that, and we've seen retailers who have pulled out of working so closely with suppliers, and then they usually end up coming back because you know, that relationship and the resources and the working together can be a win-win for both organizations. And lastly, certainly not most importantly, is that retailers and suppliers have to remember that all-important consumer in all of their decision-making processes. Consumers are the ones who have the final say, and even more importantly, they speak with their wallets. So considering all of these perspectives will really help define the winning formula for both the retailer and the supplier, and ultimately it's going to be the consumer who benefits as well. So we've probably all seen the 8-step model, which is the most commonly used category management model in North America, developed by the Partnering Group and FMI back in the late 1980s and rolled out into the early 90s. But it really is the one that you see most frequently in books and any kind of articles. We've created a more basic category management model, and there's also other models in the industry as well, but we chose to focus on one that has fewer steps and it's really easy to understand. So regardless of which model that's used, the foundation of it is all pretty similar. So in our process, we have 4 steps, starting with the retailer strategy, and this is where the retailer defines the rules or principles for the way that their stores operate. And this really is category management. Without these principles, the category management approach really isn't possible. Once the retailer strategy is articulated, then the next step is to develop category plans. And this is where they play at a category level. And based on this analysis, plan is developed that aligns to the retailers that have already been developed in that foundational piece that I already talked about. Then once the category plan is developed, then the plans need to be implementing the category plan can actually be the biggest obstacle that stops a plan from coming to life at the shelf. And if you read anything on the internet, there's so much information about the issue of execution at store level and implementation at store level and compliance and all of those kind of pieces. And then the last step is reviewing category performance. And this step really provides the checks and balances, targets and objectives are being met, and so that you don't just go and implement and then just leave it and never evaluate how it's going, make any adjustments that need to be done. So all 4 of these steps are required to be followed as part of a continuous process. So category management isn't a one-time event that, oh, we're going to do category management today, but it's really an ongoing approach to the business. That's a really important distinction to make. And it's regardless of whether you're a retailer or a supplier, it should be something that's kind of embedded into all of the analysis and reports and data that you use within your organization. Category management started out in the late 1980s as a North American joint industry process. Point-of-sale scanning technology really allowed for significant advances that develop now to include product acquisitions and merchandising processes for retailers. So the question becomes, who do you think owns the category management process? I'm going to bring up another polling question here. Who do you think owns the category management process? Based on what I've kind of shared with you so far in this webinar, is it the retailer, the supplier, or the retailer and the supplier? And by the process, I'm talking the whole start to finish, all the way from retailer strategy all the way through to the following up and monitoring the category plan. I'll just give a few seconds here for everyone to respond. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. And I'm just going to not go so quickly doing this because I think I kind of put it into a loop. So I want to share the results here. From what I can see, I don't think that you can see the results here, but I am trying to share them with you. The results are that 9% selected the retailer, 3% selected the supplier, and 89% selected the retailer and the supplier. And the answer is that it's actually the retailer who owns the process. And I know some people go, oh, it's not the retailer, it's a joint process. It's both retailer and supplier who own the process. But it's the retailer who owns it and drives the process by way of their overall retail strategies. If we go back to the four-step process, and the first piece is developing that retailer strategy, and that's part of the whole process. That's because every single retailer has their own unique strategies, which really give them their competitive advantage in the marketplace. And within those retailer strategies is really how they practice category management, and that's owned by them. So the whole process really is owned by them. And while category management is a retailer-driven process, it does require involvement from retailers. So some retailers rely very heavily on input and analysis from suppliers, and others need little to no input. So suppliers can supply much of the category data. In many cases, the retailers are not purchasing nearly the level of depth of data that suppliers do, and so they can provide that data and also consumer expertise, which adds significant value for retailers making their category decisions. Many retailers will ask key category suppliers to participate in their category management resource roles, and some of the most common definition or descriptions of them are category captains or vendor advisors. This request may be specifically included in annual vendor negotiations, but my own personal preference and thought is that it shouldn't be something that's necessarily a vendor negotiation versus it being a capability discussion of who the most who the best supplier is based on the data that they have and the resources and the collaborative approach that they have with the retailer. But within these roles, suppliers are asked to provide category-specific resources, and sometimes, in many cases, like with Walmart and Target, with exclusivity to the retailer. These resources may be responsible for completing category analyses, providing category expertise, providing labor assistance, and helping to grow the category for the retailer. So they're really ingrained in the retailer's business and processes. They're expected to approach the retailer's business from an unbiased category management perspective, and are usually expected to work independent of the marketing and or sales groups within their own organizations. In net, these advisors provide valuable resources to the retailer that give them access to category data and expertise to help them grow their business. And not every retailer has the same type of program. There's many different types of programs, but it's based on their own internal strategies. Like I talked about, it's in that whole retailer strategy piece that they're doing as part of their process. Also access to data and sophistication in their category management approach. It's important to note that all category management is not created equal, and it's a great way to think about category management is through a tiered approach. So the availability of data, the strategic importance of the category, and the experience of the category partners are combined to determine the depth of detail at which analysis can be performed in a given category. So using a tiered approach really overcomes some of the complexities of practicing category management, and it really helps you to identify where your opportunities and strengths and it helps you to plan your vision of where you're trying to take your category management team. Because there's less expectation in a Tier 1 environment than there is in a Tier 3 environment. In Tier 1, there's limited data, lower levels of collaboration between retailers and suppliers. There might be inexperience and skills with category management. You might be brand new to category management. And then we have Tier 2, which builds on Tier 1, but there's more access to data, and there's also increased collaboration between the retailer and the supplier. And then finally, we have Tier 3, which is the most advanced category management with a robust data set, extensive resources, and high levels of collaboration between the retailer and the supplier. Different retailers, different suppliers, and different categories are going to appear in different parts of the continuum for most organizations based on a combination of these requirements. So what I want to do now is get you to start thinking about where your organization fits within this continuum. I'm going to bring up a polling question just based on looking at these descriptions in these tiers here. I'll launch this poll question, and that is, what tier of category management is your organization in? Is it Tier 1, which is limited data, heavy reliance on ad hoc research, low levels of supplier-retailer collaboration, and limited resources? Is it Tier 2? A little bit more data, stronger fact-based analysis, some data availability, still some data gaps, and some dedicated resources? Or is it Tier 3, where you're doing full-blown category management approach with in-depth analysis following the category management model, high data availability, and extensive resources required with high levels of collaboration with the retailer? I'll give a few more seconds here for you to respond. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. And I'll share the results with you. And thank you, Greg, for letting me know that you can see the results. Okay, so these are the results. So we have 25% in Tier 1, 66% in Tier 2, and 9% in Tier 3. So there's not a lot of people who are on the high-end, super sophisticated category management. And this is a little bit of a tough one to answer because it does depend on the categories, and it depends if you're talking about Walmart or about, you know, a much smaller retailer and those kind of things. But in general, you know, it is a pretty good indication of where you currently are. So thank you for sharing your feedback on that. So we're going to go through a workshop now, and it focuses on this category management continuum. I think this is just a great way to start thinking more strategically about what you're trying to do with category management. The first objective of this workshop is to determine where your organization, your categories, your suppliers, or your retailers, and your competitors fit in the category management continuum. And then the second objective is to determine what barriers may exist based on your learnings that may limit your ability to do category management. So, like I said before, if you have printed off that workshop that is under View Materials in the Go-To training, then you are going to have a document that looks like this. And just if you can print that off, if you have a chance, if you're close by a printer, that would be great. If you don't, then just make sure that you download it so you can refer back to it, because it is a really great exercise to go through. We have workshops in all of our courses, and they're hands-on workshops that are kind of similar to this, create some interactivity with our students. So the objective of the workshop, once again, is to determine where your organization, retailers, or suppliers, depending on if you're a retailer or supplier, and categories fit within the continuum. So first, review the tiers and descriptions in the grid, which is on the top half of the page, and then map out where you see your organization, retailers, and competition fit in the grid, and the corresponding level of category management that's available based on the criteria. So rather than having dead air space and having, what I'm going to do is walk you through an example for my made-up organization, so that you can kind of understand how you fill this out. And you're more than welcome to fill it out on your own as I fill mine out. So overall, I see my organization in Tier 2 because there are several large data and resource gaps in the organization. When I take a look at my retailers, since I'm a supplier, I have in Tier 1 category management, while retailer Y is in Tier 3 category management. So therefore, the expectations, especially the resource requirements, resources to retailer X as we are to retailer Y, just simply because of the difference in. Then when I take a look at my categories, laundry is classified as a Tier 3 category, while cleaners is Tier 2 and our cleaning Tier 1. And a lot of the time these are associated with the size of the prize and how big these categories also are for the retailer or the supplier, because you're going to tend to put more money into the data in your most important categories and obviously less in your less important categories. So this supplier, in my case, has more data and resources focused on laundry than on the other related categories that they sell. And then when a competition, competitor X treats the household cleaners category as Tier 3. So they're actually at a higher tier than my organization, sophisticated data than what we purchase internally. We have competitor Y who's at Tier 2 in laundry detergent, less sophisticated data than my organization. So this is an important step to go through because it really helps you to set expectations as to the level of category completed. And sometimes it's an aha moment. We have a lot of clients who go, oh my goodness, we have never thought about or looked at it this way, but it makes things so much easier to determine allocation, especially allocation of resources, and even when you're going to determine what you're going to be spending your money on. This really helps to it also is a great document that you can then take to the rest of the organization to explain kind of how the resource and the allocation of time are going to be spent. So I'm not going to be giving you any time to complete the workshop today, but I really strongly suggest that you complete this if you will, or even better, if you can complete it as a team. It's really great to get people to come to see how they fill it out on their own, and then have a discussion about kind of where you currently fit, and also, and sometimes planning for, okay, where are we now and where do we want to be in the future? There may be some retailers for a supplier that are in Tier 1 and it may be bad relationships or those kind of things. They might not move out of Tier 1. Might be categories or retailers that you do want to bring up, and so those are the ones where there may be bigger opportunities. So I'm now going to go through each of the different steps of the category management model, starting with retailer strategy. Some retailers do not have well-articulated retailer strategies and may be missing strategy in some areas of category management. Having well-identified and well-articulated strategies are really requirements for the implementation of successful category management. Sometimes it's easy to assume someone else or you read about it somewhere, but you may not ever understanding. We've probably all done that at some point, and that's sometimes something like strategy and retailer strategy. So I want to go back in time a little bit and walk you through a few of them rather famous people assume things without necessarily clarifying the possibilities. The unfortunate thing for them is that they actually made statements that are now archived at them, but I don't think that that was their intent when they said them. So we have Charles Duell, who ran the U.S. Patent Office in 1899, and he figured that everything had already been invented. Now that's short. Imagine if inventors believe, and so just kind of decided, okay, I can't be an inventor anymore because everything has already been invented. The next one is a quote from a Yale professor. And this is based on a paper in university. He was proposing overnight delivery service. And you can see that the professor appreciate the idea that Fred Smith had, ignored his professor's feedback and went on to develop FedEx. Professor wishes he had been a bit more open-minded and maybe even his company. And then, of course, we have the leading edge IBM in 1943, which was when the first computers came out. And thank goodness his vision was wrong. But the amazing thing is that equipment that guy is standing in front of that entire wall is one of the computers. That's how big they used to be back in the day. I am not from 1943. I'm not that old. So hopefully what you can see from these examples, that assuming can result in short-sighted conclusions and even incorrect information, but by clarifying, you get more and better perspective and find better solutions. And you need to keep this in mind, not just when we're thinking about retailer strategy, but as you move through different courses in category management, not to make assumptions based on something that you knew from last year or something that somebody else told you, but clarifying for better and more perspective, and then better and proper solutions. So, as I've already covered, retailer strategy is the first step of the category management process. And in this step, retailers need to be specific about their overall strategies in order to be successful. And they need to be able to effectively communicate these strategies to their organization. So they need to define and communicate their overall strategies, and they need to define their categories and determine what roles these categories will play in their stores. Like I've already mentioned probably 5 times, the retailer strategy provides the foundation for the rest of the category management process. So if you're not properly articulating your strategy as a retailer or understanding it as a supplier, you're going to be limited in your approach. We've worked with several retailers that have a category management process, they have category management advisors, and they choose not to share some of their important strategies their category captains, which ends up causing a bit of a problem because the category captains are trying to accomplish whatever it is that the retailer is trying to do, but the retailer isn't telling them everything that they're trying to accomplish. So it's kind of a bit of a oxymoron maybe. So let's look at each of these in a bit more detail, starting with the overall strategy. It's important to understand a retailer's strategy within the marketplace. What draws consumers to a specific retailer? Is it their low price, selection, fresh foods, trendy products, convenience items, convenient hours? All of these things tie in directly with a retailer's overall strategies. Retailers have some strategic choices that they need to make related to their target customer, the format that they plan to use, and the basis for competitive differentiation. How well do retailers articulate their strategies? Well, that really depends on the retailer. We actually have a complete accredited course on retailer strategy because there's so much detail about what should be included in retail strategy, excuse me, and what comprises each of these different areas. In net, retailers want to succeed in the marketplace by winning with consumers. And there's 4 basic ways to win with the consumer. The first is to offer the cheapest prices. The important thing to note is that only one retailer can truly be the cheapest within the market. A retailer may have aggressive pricing strategies, but does that consumer consider them to have the cheapest prices in town? Next, the retailer can offer a huge assortment. Not shelf space, but actual assortment or product selection. A larger assortment typically associates with a more premium lineup for the retail, but it also ties in with higher inventory and lower turns for the retailer as well. A retailer may want to appeal to the service side for consumers. Easy to shop, treating the customer as number one, having childcare in the stores, all kinds of approaches that they can take. And then lastly, the strategy ties in with the hottest merchandise. So consumers know which retailer to go to come for the newest and the latest products. The problem is if a retailer tries to be good in all of these areas, what typically ends up happening is that they end up not being really great in any of them. Without clearly defined and well-articulated strategies, retailers may end up in a land of what I call mediocrity with their consumers. The issue for retailers isn't whether they need to be competitive in all 4 dimensions, but in which dimension they're going to achieve competitive superiority. So it's not necessary for them to win in every dimension, and it's probably pretty difficult to do that as long as an acceptable performance is maintained in the other dimensions. The second piece of the retailer strategy is the category management process is to define categories and assign category roles. This is an obvious but very important step that's defined as part of the retailer strategy. What happens in this step of the process is that retailers identify the structure of the category and all of the items that belong in each of the categories. Next, they assign category roles. And this requires taking a big picture look across the retailer's selection of categories and determining their overall importance to the total store. I'm not going to go into all the category roles and all of that right now, but it's a really important step that some retailers still don't do. And finally, they allocate resources to the category based on the category's overall importance to the store. The most important categories are the ones that align well with the target consumer. And these categories are typically allocated a higher than average share of resources. So that wraps it up for retailer strategy. For retailers, this is a foundation from which all of their category management work comes from. The next step is developing the category plans, which is what I call the fun stuff, the analysis and the data that kicks in. Developing the category plans is where most of the analysis and work happens, and that's where all of the different data sources come into play and so on. And this step where retailers work very closely with retailers in the category management process. The category plan includes several different components. Conducting a market and category assessment. How is the retailer doing versus the market? What are their biggest areas of opportunity? The category plan also needs a balanced category scorecard. And this is really to include the proper metrics for category business development and tracks how the retailer is doing versus their targets and goals. The third element is assigning strategies to the category. What is the purpose of the category in the store, and how are we going to, what tactics are we going to tie in to achieve those objectives? And finally, the category tactics need to be determined, including assortment, shelving, price, and promotion. So I'll walk quickly through each of these in a little bit more detail. So the market and category assessment can be very simple or extremely detailed, and this is really driven by how much data is available and how important the category is for the retailer. So the level of sophistication of the assessment should not be as deep for a Tier 1 category as it is for a Tier 3 category. Data can be available from 4 different perspectives, including retailer, consumer, and supplier perspectives based on the data sources. And then within each of these perspectives, data can be available all the way from category down to an item level. So when you think about this and how much data it includes, and that's 4 data perspectives plus multiple time periods and geographies and different levels of product information, and what does that equal? It equals a lot of data that you have to work with, and it can actually be very overwhelming. And this isn't even starting to get into the omni-channel data and all of the online data and so on. But with the overall objective within the category assessment is to highlight gaps and opportunities for the retailer and also analyze how the tactics play a role within those business results. So an assessment can be done if there's effective reporting, then you can have a simple but effective assessment, including an example that you see on the screen right now. And this one includes retailer versus market insights, and then it analyzes some of the basic tactic results, including assortment, shelving, promotion, and display. You don't need to go super deep to get some really great insights into the category. One of the things that we really teach in our training is making sure that when you're taking a look at data, regardless of if you're a retailer or a supplier, is that you tie in some of your reports with the tactics so that you can really, because they're the drivers of the overall results within the category.
Welcome to Go to Trainline Training Made Easy. There are 41 other callers on the call.
Scorecard is a critical component of the category plan because it really puts those checks and balances in place to ensure that targets are achievable. Like I talked about before, you can't just put together the category plan and implement it in the stores and just leave it. You want to have those checks and balances and make adjustments where necessary when things aren't working. The third step is in the category plan is defining the category strategies that align with the category roles. You'll recall that we define the category role as part of the retailer's overall strategies, and then once the retailers confirm the category role, they need to define specific strategies within the category to kind of make it its own. So category strategies help to determine the purpose for the category in the store. So for example, is it to attract customers down the aisle, increase impulse purchases, increase profit, and so on. Once the category strategies have been determined, then there's the objectives that are defined for each tactics are product assortment, shelving, price, and promotion. The analytics and category management take place. To be organizations who focus primarily on shelf and assortment, but you really do need to truly be looking at the bigger picture of category management. Within product assortment, things like how many items should the retailer be questioned, inspired to carry the assortment that's needed, what are the merchandising strategies based on the consumer pricing, what items do we need to be price efficient, what's the overall pricing strategy, what item matching or within certain percentages, and then promotion. How many times should categories be featured, on what weeks, does it include display, all those kind of things that are certain. So each of these elements in the category plan to the success of the plan. Within different categories, different parts of this plan may play an important role, but if you're only taking into consideration one or two of the tactics, it doesn't mean that you're taking a complete category management approach. So once the steps of the category plan have been completed, the category plan can be developed. And it's really important to capture changes that are made against each of the different tactics, including the analysis in order to complete the category plan, and then the actions that are required, and including target deadline dates, so putting together that critical path, and then who the owner is for each of the different actions. And then once this plan is agreed to, it also has to be assessed regularly to ensure that the different elements are all executed with excellence. Once the category plans are developed, they need to be implemented. And like I mentioned before, executing the plan is critical to the success of the entire category management program. And we're talking about implementing it all the way down to the retailer's shelf. If not implemented on the shelf, it's not going to be a success. And sometimes it's the step that results in stumbling blocks. Regardless of how effective your category plan is and also all of the work that goes into it, if it's not implemented in the stores, it's obviously not going to work. So there's several things that need to be considered when you're implementing the plan. First, the plan needs to align with the retailer's overall strategies. Second, the retailer needs to agree to the measures that have been put in place internally and that the plan will help the retailer to achieve their overall category objectives. Third, what resources are required to implement the plan at store level? Is it the retailer's or the supplier's responsibility to supply the resources, or is this going to fall to a third-party merchandising team? Many retailers have a category captain or vendor advisor, like I mentioned before, that allow the vendors to work closely with them to help them develop their category plans. And lastly, the plan needs to be communicated to all of those affected. And a lot of the times that's when some of the pieces fall apart in the stores, is that retail operations isn't aware of what's going on, or the planogram team doesn't have proper information to understand why this is being rolled out, and so on. So easy to access planograms and information have to be accessible for retailers, and retail ops, category teams, and suppliers need to understand the plan. The final step of the category management process is to review the category performance. And this isn't a one-time final step, but rather an ongoing process. So there needs to be some flexibility to make changes if some of the elements of the plan are not working. Reviewing the category's performance is a step to ensure that the category goals and objectives are all completely being delivered. and it's something that should happen regularly, possibly once per quarter or even more frequently for the most important categories or the ones probably with a destination role. Staying well informed about the market dynamics in the category, possibly led by suppliers, is also important. So if the market dynamics are changing significantly, then the category plan might have to be adjusted. And you also need to ensure that the retailer has implemented the plan, any adjustments, as well as the recent updates. And all of that communication continues to go across all of the parties that need to understand what's going on. So I've now completed an overview of the 4-step process for category management. And each of the steps has its own set of questions that need to be addressed. Step 1, we have defining the retail strategy, including category definitions and category role assignments. We have step 2, category planning, which is where most of the analytical work is conducted. And this is where the suppliers tend to be more involved in the retailer's process. Step 3, a succinct implementation plan to ensure compliance at store level. And really effectively communicating the plan is probably the most important part of that to achieve success. And lastly, category results need to be reviewed on an ongoing basis through measurable scorecards. So that's the end of this course, at the end of all of our courses we also assign homework. So the homework for this course would be to complete that workshop that we started going through on the category management continuum, and also if you were taking the online course we also have quizzes to ensure that all of the information is understood, but also if you're interested in trying to obtain industry certification, the requirement is that you get a passing grade of 80% or more on each of the accredited course tests. So that is it for the category management overview webinar, and I hope you enjoyed it and got a few new learnings out of it. I'm going to be spending about 7 minutes going through and just letting you get a bit more information on category management knowledge group. If you leave now, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you'll come and attend some of our other webinars, and if you stay, that's great. I want to walk you through 6 important things to know about CMkg. We've been doing this for a long time, and we're really trying to talk less and use less words more to describe a little bit more about category management knowledge group, to really explain to you and hopefully get you to understand why we believe you should choose CMkg as your training partner. The first thing is that we're a category management company first. Although the base of our platform is online training, we are 100% focused on category management as a discipline. We are all experienced, we're all certified, we stay current, and we're really helping to evolve category management in our field. We have a huge passion for category management. Second thing to note, our training is designed to meet your needs. We don't just have some canned programs that we believe are the ones that everybody should take, and really want to be able to create custom training approaches for every single one of our unique clients. So basically what we do is that we have our set of courses, and what we do with our clients is we sit down and really understand what their needs are, what it is that they're trying to accomplish, whether or not they're interested in industry certification, if they're looking for retailer or manufacturer stream of courses, are they looking for full learning programs, are they looking for fill in the gap because their internal training doesn't have all of the pieces that they need and they don't want to be investing in that themselves. So we have a list of 29 accredited courses up at the top, and then down at the bottom we have some new courses that we've added in. We've actually got one more course down at the bottom too on in-store marketing, the basics. So we're continuing to develop new content as well, but basically what we can do is take those courses and create any kind of programs for your organization, or even if you're an individual, we can figure out what's right for you. We even have assessments that you can take pre and post the training to really determine where your biggest opportunities are to take our training. Thirdly, we have a continuous learning path that focuses on building capabilities. This is an important one for us. We don't believe that training should just be a checklist item that needs to be completed every few years, but that it should be a continuous learning path. And so we really help organizations along the learning path with all of their individuals. We work very closely with our corporate clients to build longer-term training programs for their organization so there's sustainability and accessibility on an ongoing basis rather than it just being that one-shot approach. We provide the most robust support and resources available. We have spent a lot of our time putting together a state-of-the-art learning management system. We don't own our own system. We pay a lot of money for it, quite frankly, because we are not an IT company. We do not want to house our own learning management system, but we have a fantastic e-learning center. It obviously has our online courses and testing in it, but we also have updated student transcripts and corporate reports are available for clients on an ongoing basis, and the student transcripts are available for students within their own login based on the courses they've completed. We have a resource library that has over 250 white papers. We are very highly active in social media. And like I said, if you go into view materials, you can see all of the different ways that you can connect with us. We share a lot of free stuff and also post new webinars and all that kind of stuff in there. We also provide daily news to our students based on a lot of that social media that we're doing as well. And this is not a streamed, this is manually selected and input into our e-learning center based on what we know our students are interested in. We have a student forum, so students can anonymously participate and engage in discussion with each other without any idea of who they are or what company they work for. We also have a student advisory board that we work with very closely. It's got 15 of some of our corporate stakeholders, as well as some of our students who give us feedback and really help us to determine the future direction of the company and development and so on, which is just fantastic. We just love our advisory board. We have a dynamic glossary online that has over 300 terms and definitions, and by dynamic it's also got links to other things and examples and videos and so on. We even have a book club. We have a solution provider directory, so if somebody is looking for a planogramming company or something like that, they can go into the solution provider directory and do some surfing around in there to understand who might be the best fit for them. And we also have 6 ongoing live webinars every year that our students can optionally take. They certainly don't have to, but we usually have a full house for those because we bring in outside resources and really try to determine topics that are relevant for our students. We also have great support for students as they come to programs. Imagine taking training and not having qualified people to answer questions right away. It would be very frustrating. That I know that when I used to have to take online training at peak in the day, there was absolutely zero support. So we've definitely got a lot of different support pieces in place for our students. We have a certified support team. Even our administrative staff is certified and continues to progress along in their educational approach with category management. We have live chat, so up in the right-hand corner of our e-learning center, you can click on live and have a live person to answer your questions immediately if it's during business working hours. We have email frequently asked questions, and we even have those as well. And also we're very friendly. We do run surveys to get what we do with all of our students and corporate clients on a regular basis, and our support is definitely our high piece of our entire business, is how much our organization takes care of their students and their corporate clients, and we're very proud of that. We also focus on we value has been an interesting discussion that we have had with our student advisor, and we've actually, because of our student advisory board feedback about the incredible value, and we're not just talking about price, we're talking about the value much expanded beyond just price. So we developed this Voice of the Customer program, and we've had some pretty fantastic clients of ours, people in some large organizations that you can, who have given us video feedback on how CMkg has added value to their organizations. Available in our website, and we're very proud of this. This to us is just putting you know, a gold star beside our name, and it's from our clients, and we very much appreciate the fantastic relationship that we have with all of our corporate clients. And the last thing is that our focus is on you, and I touched about this a little bit at the beginning. beginning, but we can pretty much find a training program for anyone, to be flexible enough to meet the unique needs of you as a unique client. And we don't try to fit anyone into a specific box, because there's a lot of things that you have to consider when you're doing training. Budget, short and long-term training goals, your return on investment measures, we can even do that, the size of the training, a sustainability plan, customization, and customization can be anything from, you know, adding in some of your own documents into the e-learning center all the way up to, you know, creating or even co-creating some additional training together. We have case studies available. We have our own generic case studies that are a huge hit, or we can also customize those for different clients. We run live training and private webinars. We're actually going to be running a live public boot camp online in the new year. And we also very strongly believe in having timelines and schedules. Like I said, we've been doing this for a long time, and timelines and schedules and expectations are really important to get people to complete training, or it's just not ever going to become a priority for some people. So when you go to find a category management training company, these are the kind of things that you should be asking them. And obviously these also feed into our FIR, because I've already explained all of them to you in terms of how CMkg does it, but really important things for you to consider when you go to choose your training company. Like I've already mentioned, we're very active in social media, regardless of which way that you go, or if you like all of them. But we have a very popular monthly newsletter. I write weekly blogs. We also have some guest bloggers from different areas of the business that will sometimes join us in doing blogs. We have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I already mentioned our student advisory board. And then we also get ongoing student feedback. So we track all of our activities and requests that come out of the e-learning center, and we really do act on them. We believe that like I said before, our students and our clients are our biggest advocates, and so we really want to make sure that we're always meeting their needs. Some of the other cool stuff we have, if you're not interested in training, you can actually just purchase a resource library membership option, and we created this because a lot of our students, when they were completed their training, they still wanted to be able to have access to the e-learning center. So we actually have a quarterly or annual access to the e-learning center. We've developed a new course on 6 steps to effective in-store marketing materials. We're just putting the tail end pieces into our new program on Shopper Marketing Essentials, and you can select from a choice of 6 courses. You can choose 4. And then we also have solution provider and affiliate programs. So we're always looking for new solution providers to add into our solution provider directory, and we're also starting to co-create a lot of different content with solution providers. And we're also looking for affiliates or referrals outside of North America to help us in our endeavors to sell across the globe, if you're interested in that. So here's my contact information. You can feel free to email me. You can check out our website. Like I said, if you go into view materials, you can see all kinds of different links to access CMkg from all different areas. If you have any questions, we can stay on the line for a few minutes, and you can type them in the chat, or you can phone me directly. My phone number is on the screen there. But if you're looking for category management training, I hope that you'll seriously consider CMkg because of all of the reasons that I've just covered. So I hope you enjoyed the webinar today and found it useful, learned a few new things about category management, and I hope that you choose CMkg in the future for your training endeavors. Have a great day.